Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Select Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. This meeting hearing of the Ayer Select Board will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for its in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom and Channel 8. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID number 978-772-8220 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. If I could ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none. I'll make a motion that the board approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. The agenda is approved. And we have a few announcements tonight. All right, winter parking restrictions. Beginning on November 15th and ending on April 15th, there will be a no on-street parking between midnight and 6 a.m., as well as any time of day during active snowstorms. Officers will start with paper warnings, but will soon transition to parking tickets. We're having a flash food drive on Sunday, November 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Ayer Police Department, the Ayer Fire Department, and Stone Soup Kitchen Food Pantry will be teaming up at Shop and Save to conduct an emergency flash food drive to restock the shelves in this time of need. The 25th Annual Toy Drive. Beginning on Black Friday and running through December 20th, the Ayer Police Department will be collecting holiday gifts for the children of Ayer. There will be collection boxes at the Police Department, Town Hall, Library, and the Post Office. Applications will be available on the website shortly. And last, the 20th Citizens Police Academy. Backed by popular demand, the Ayer Police Department Citizens Police Academy. Beginning on Saturday, January 3rd, 2026, and running through Saturday, March 7th, officers will teach about the many different aspects of policing in Ayer. The class is open to residents and those who work in Ayer, and it will be run on Saturdays from 10 a.m. through 1 p.m. Applications will be available on our website shortly. Anything else? Any other announcements? Okay. All right. Anyone here for public input? Yes, Pauline.
I'm trying to unmute. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. Two brief things, very brief. The work on Cambridge Street, I believe, is 99 and 9/10 complete. And I want to give a shout out to the contractors. I hope Dan is in the audience or attending.
He is.
They were fabulous to work with. They learned our schedules, so we did not have to interfere with their schedules. And it's a great company. It's a father-son. And I just want to give kudos to, I think it's, Dan, correct me, CHB Excavating out of Westford. Correct. So I want to share that. And they were just wonderful and accommodating.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. I understand they've done work for the town before. I hope they do more. On that same topic, the other day I was accepting a delivery for the 12 Newton Street project, and wouldn't you know, another town contractor comes up Adams Street, clearly late, and turns left onto Newton, going the wrong way, parked in the driveway of the bank, and ran into Town Hall. So I'm not going to name that contractor, but if anyone wants to know who it was, I'll let you know. But they shouldn't be doing that, especially in a marked truck, right?
Right.
All
And
right,
it-
and then one other brief thing. There was a post by a resident a couple of days ago about another accident at the fork at the Harvard Road split on East Main Street. I don't know what came down. I don't know if it was the welcome to air sign again or just the flashing light sign, but the author tagged the town of Air. I have no idea who at the town of Air would have even seen it. And I'm happy to forward it if anybody would like to. But the ongoing dialogue became, we need more flashing crosswalk signs. And I will not suggest I had nothing to do with that, but I did. And I just want y'all to be aware, there's a lot of dialogue that the town is tagged in on Facebook, but I don't know who sees it. So I just wanted to let you all know that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. All right, anyone else for public comment? Okay, and we'll do maybe some follow-up on that information as far as whatever's going on down there, so. All right, and okay, we can start our public hearing.
Okay. Town of Air, notice of public hearing for Air Select Board, FY26 tax classification hearing. The Air Select Board will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 6:05 p.m., both in person at Air Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Air, Mass., and via remote participation for the town's fiscal year 2026 tax classification. At the public hearing, the Air Board of Assessors shall provide all information and data relevant to making a decision on allocating the tax burden, including the fiscal effect on the available alternatives. For call-in information prior to the hearing, please contact atm@air.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 149. Date of public hearing, Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Time of public hearing, 6:05 p.m. Location of public hearing, in person, Air Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Air, Mass. Remote participation held on Zoom, meeting ID number 978-772-8220.
All right. Come on down.
Hello.
Hello.
So my presentation, pretty much the same as it was last year. Just going through where the assessments ended up for the year and what the budget for the year was approved at. There's a few options I sent along, gave a recommendation based on the past few years. Ultimately, the decision is on the board, but I will run through everything so you guys can take a look. So the purpose of the hearing is just to adopt a residential factor, determining what the commercial, industrial, and personal property share of the parcels in town will take on of the tax burden. 5 classes of property being residential, open space, commercial, industrial, personal property. Residential and open space get lumped together, commercial, industrial, personal property get lumped together. So open space would be in a residential category. We do not have any open space parcels. Commonly used terms, new growth. These are new construction. This is big projects, big buildings that have been completed after the start of the fiscal year. We are allowed to take the valuation of those properties, add that to the levy, increase it just in case more funds are needed for services, town services and things. Tax levy being the dollar amount that the community raises through real and personal property taxes. So that's what's voted at town meeting. That's the budget for spending for all of the town services. Levy limit ceiling being the maximum dollar amount the town can raise in a fiscal year, which is calculated based on the prior year's levy, adding 2.5%. we add the new growth for all that construction and any debt exclusions. That gives us the total amount that we're allowed to raise in any year. Excess levy capacity being the difference between the two. So this is where a lot of people say, some towns tax to the max their levy limit, their ceiling, and their levy that they're trying to raise are very close. Debt exclusions being temporary increases paying for capital projects. Those are also voted at town meeting. CIP is just our abbreviation for commercial, industrial, and personal property. And then the minimum residential factor is the percentage of the residential burden of the levy. So the assessors, my department has set the values of all of the property, real property and personal property for the purpose of equitable taxation based on fair market value. For fiscal 26, we were reviewing calendar 24 sales. We used July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2025. We used a 2-year span for businesses and bigger residential properties that only had limited sales. That is all in accordance with Department of Revenue. We did get our certification in October. We are not, the Board of Assessors isn't setting the tax rate. We're just using the calculation based on the approved levy at town meeting, divided by the total of all the assessments, gives what the residential, or gives what a single tax rate, proposed tax rate would be, and then we determine the shift. So the first vote that the board will take would be on an open space discount. That's for any property that's in open natural condition. We do not have any of those in town. That would be anything that is not under chapter land, not producing income. The select board may discount up to 25% of the open space portion. That just shifts that reduction to the other residential properties. So the residential exemption is another option that towns have the ability to do. That is for towns that have a lot of seasonal properties and a lot more rentals than they do full year round. So what they do is they try to offer a discount to the people who are there year round to give them a little bit of a benefit to being there, and they put a higher burden on all of the seasonal properties. We're not one of those towns, and it does not end up working out in anyone's favor to do that in this town. So the next exemption would be a small commercial exemption. The small commercial exemption is for specific eligible businesses that are determined by the Department of Labor and Workforce every year. They must have a valuation of less than $1 million, average employment of 10 or fewer people. It is something that the board can adopt an exemption up to 10% of the value on those parcels. It would take the shift from the small parcels, the small business parcels, and put it on the bigger parcels. So places like the pharmacy and the diners and the things like that would get shifted to the Pepsis and the Nasoyas and the bigger businesses like that. So there are a few cons to that. It does increase the commercial industrial tax rate in order to allow for that to happen. And it doesn't really provide a benefit to all commercial industrial. It's only the handful of small businesses. The other disadvantage is that a lot of the smaller businesses are renting spaces. So you find that you may have 5 small businesses that get a benefit to one business owner, property owner. That property owner gets it, but the businesses don't necessarily see that reduction. The property owner does. So right now, the percentage breakdown of properties in town is staying at roughly 72% residential, 28% commercial. Kind of bounces a little depending on the surge of, new construction and new houses being built. So it kind of shifts just a little bit, but it has been in the 28-72% for this year. So this is where we get into the detail of fiscal 26 now at this point. So these are our valuations for residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property, showing that the residential being 71.6, all of the commercial, industrial, personal property totals 28.4%. Total valuation for the year is $2,065,912,548. This is an increase of 8% over last year's assessments. The average single-family home is up about 10.7% from $516,481 to $571,644. The median commercial industrial is not up as much. It's up 1% from $389,250 to $393,100. In looking at this, it does look like it's a little off and shifted in percentage-wise in what the increase. Thing to remember is we are using the median, which is just the middle point. We have 288 properties, so it becomes the average of the two middle points. For commercial, we had a big hit with the hospital closure and vacancies up in the properties there. So while something shifted down, something shifted up, that middle point, the average just happened to only go up 1%. But actually my commercial industrial, commercial was down about 2% because of the hospital closure. Industrial was up 5.3, personal property was up 10.5. So the median doesn't shift much, but the businesses did take an impact of about 10% also. The other thing to remember is most places, when we're doing this, we're using the median for commercial industrial in order to see the impact to the little guy, to the diners, the pharmacies, the Neshoba clubs. A lot of towns, when they're doing their split, they don't want to think about what's going on with the Pepsi and Nasoya and the $20 million businesses. They want to know what's going on with their locals. So that's why they use the median point, which happens to be a little bit lower in that case, into what the impact is. So the details here on the levy, this is just showing our total maximum levy limit, taking last year's levy limit, increasing the 2.5%, increasing the new growth for fiscal 26 as $1,338,527. Any debt exclusions for the year, our maximum tax levy being $36,840,436. That's 5.4% over last year. But our excess levy capacity actually did increase. We were at 4.2 million last year. We're at 4.9 million this year. So our excess levy capacity is still in good shape. This just shows the average budget increase over the last few years. Again, this is town meeting votes. This is increase on what the tax needs are for running the town, being up 5.4% from last year. Now, in most communities where there are a single tax rate, the calculation for determining the tax rate becomes the full tax levy divided by the full town valuation times 1,000. So right now, the town of Ayer at a single tax rate would be 15.46. Last year would have been 15.84. So the single tax rate is down about 2.4%. And this is just the data from last year as to what the select board had voted on. Last year, the residential factor was at 0.7549. The commercial and industrial shift factor was 1.59. That had the residential class taking on 53% of the levy load and commercial industrial taking on 47%. So when I laid out the options, I looked at everything, trying to keep the percentage of the levy split similar to the past few years, given that the split in commercial industrial has stayed relatively similar the last few years. Trying to look at, again, the impact on everybody. It's difficult, again, seeing that the median on the commercial industrial being lower than the average household. But again, remembering that a lot of these businesses, some of them are getting hit with tax bills for their real estate and for their personal property. So some of them are getting 2 bills at a time. And then also remembering we have the Pepsis and the Nisoyas and the big businesses taking on a higher load than that $96 impact. So again, this is my recommendation. This is just based on the things that I've been seeing in the way the last few years have run. Again, it's up to the select board if there is any discussion or questions, or if there's a percentage that that you guys would prefer. That's on you to go ahead and vote that. So this is just all the data to show where things land. So the last thing I have just shows the last few years' tax rates. So if voted at the 0.7496 residential factor with the 1.63 shift, brings the residential tax rate from 1196 to 1159, leaves the commercial industrial tax rate exactly the same. That's just how it falls to keep the levy percentage where it needs to be. So at this point, it is on the select board to make decisions on single rate or split rate, what your residential factor you would like, and then the small commercial, residential, and open space discount, which I recommend, not adopting any of those, which we've done in the past.
No. Very clear.
Anybody have any questions? Pauline?
I didn't want to interrupt before you all deliberate, but I heard someone say very clear. So if you would like me to ask my couple of questions, I'm happy to.
Go ahead.
So I'm sorry, I don't know the speaker's name from the assessor's office.
I'm April.
April?
Yep.
Good evening, I'm Pauline. I'd like to hear how the closure of Neshoba Valley Medical Center has impacted our property taxes. Doesn't the owner still have the obligation to pay their property tax?
They do. What happened is the assessments on those buildings did get reduced. So what would have been a $19 million assessment and tax valuation becomes, I think it ended up at 13 or 13.5 million. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it was a significant reduction. That does change what all the other businesses and residents take on for the levy, because that $6 million was reduced from their assessment. So, the assessments on everybody went up. The assessments on the total town went up. The levy went up. It basically means the residents are taking on a little more of the share. The businesses are taking on a little more of the share. And it just kind of gets absorbed. I can't tell the exact impact without running calculations with a new tax rate as to what it might have done. But it does impact everybody in town because the assessment load is different.
So would you say this is kind of normal as far as when, like a building vacates, that's a normal thing for it to happen, right?
Right. They start to shift the value down because it does not have the same income and expense producing effect. It is vacant. It is not the same. The assessment load does change a little bit, but it's kind of a way to help offset everything without hitting overlay and without abatements and things like that, rather than leave it alone and have other financial obligations later.
So truth be told about Neshoba Valley, isn't this a product of the bankruptcy filing? And I know a little bit about this, but I'm not going to go into detail. But because the case is still pending, the value of the property is probably being assessed by a court in Houston, Texas. What is the town doing to actively pursue 100% of its tax revenue with respect to Neshoba Valley? I know it's a little off topic, so I'm not expecting an answer, but I'm expecting the board to at least look into this. I have a couple other questions about the tax.
All right, hold on,
Uh,
she's trying to answer.
So the Board of Assessors does have a pending abatement and appellate tax board case with the hospital to challenge their valuation from fiscal '25 as well as their valuation from '26. They are basing the fact that the building is empty, that it is, and sales of other hospitals in the area saying the value is a lot lower than where we have it. The Board of Assessors has taken on and hired an appraiser in order to determine an actual cost value to the building, what their projection on an income and expense as an average for that building would be, and then determine from there where things should go. So we had to take a reduction of some of the assessment, not knowing what the appraisal is going to come back at.
Understood, and I'm glad to hear that, but you mean you're talking with Global Management, the owner, or Apollo Global, or whatever their name is, not
No.
the hospital, right?
We have hired an independent appraiser to come in and get a valuation that will be used at the appellate tax board. It's the owner of the building that is challenging the assessment, and we are getting an independent appraisal in order to determine where things should go.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, April, for that clarification.
No problem.
Two questions, and some of you are going to roll your eyes at me asking this. There's an excess levy capacity of almost $5 million, which, as I understand it, means we're not billing the taxpayers, residents, or commercial industrial that $5 million. Where does that money go? Well, I can't say it that way. What happens to that money?
If you know the answer.
I was going to say that's not really, it's a maximum allowable. It's
Yep.
just using previous assessments and budgets and showing increases as to what could be done. It's not actual money because there's no real budget funding it. It's not, it's just saying the maximum that we're allowed to, if by chance something went horribly wrong, we can increase our tax levy from the 31 million to $2 million and try to get things accomplished. But in order to do that, you still have to raise the tax rate and raise the taxes to come up with that money. There is no, the levy limit is not money. It's not a funding source.
And you anticipate my next comment, so congratulations. So if something went terribly wrong with the build of the senior center at 16 million and we needed 20 million, that money would possibly be available?
That would have to go through another town meeting vote for debt exclusions and other funding mechanisms. That's, again, it's
Yep,
not.
I get it, but the capacity is there, is what you're saying.
Right now, we have the maximum ability to fund up to the 4.9 million, yes.
Understood. And then one last question, and I'm sorry to be this way, but you know, it's a public hearing. As I read the proposed estimated FY26 tax rates, we are pretty much on the mark for the funding of the senior center for residential properties at 400, and I think at town meeting it was $443. This chart that you have provided says 448. I'm not going to worry about the extra three. But I'm amazed that the commercial industrial rate, which I have been asking for since this came before the selectmen and town meeting, how much would it be for a commercial industrial tax rate? How much would the increase be? It's only $100.
So this is the impact of the levy for the town budget. This is not
Which
the,
includes, well, pardon me for interrupting, which includes the senior center.
No, it
No,
does
not
not.
yet. That hasn't gone into effect yet.
No.
Yeah, so this is everything that was approved at Springtown meeting in April of
Right, and any debt
2025.
that's already been being paid.
Right.
This does not include the senior center at this time.
All right, well, pardon me.
So
for
anything with the
interrupting.
senior center would come into effect possibly 2026. So when we have this tax classification hearing next year, we could
Right,
be
there's a
talking about the
possibility
senior
that
center.
that would be
Okay.
in this impact.
All right, fair enough. I retract that question. what is the $1.7 million in debt exclusions for this year?
Those are previous projects that are already in the funding process. I'm not sure exactly what those are myself, but they're already ones that are being paid on.
Wasn't one of them the fire truck?
Yeah,
Was a fire truck and
So
something
it
else?
includes a pumper truck.
The pumper truck.
The pumper truck.
And it includes debt exclusions from the school as well.
Oh, the school still.
587,000 of that is the town's debt exclusion, and the remainder is school debt exclusions from the high school
Okay,
and the fields.
okay, I just remember the truck. So, okay, thank you.
All right, so it's entirely possible the impact of the senior center vote next year will increase the average residential tax bill more than $448 a year. Am I correct?
To be fair, when we have the tax classification hearing next year in 2026, in November 2026,
Yep.
that is going to have any impact of the senior center and whatever we vote on at spring town meeting. So
Understood.
I don't think it's fair to put a complete item, price on it because we don't know what's going to happen between now and spring town meeting that could impact the taxes.
And it may only be partially borrowed. It may
And-
not be a
right.
full borrow as of next year, so it may only be part of the impact. It may not be the full impact.
Right.
So my question was possible, yes? or no?
Possible.
All right, stay tuned, we'll all be here. Thank you all very much, appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have any questions? You?
No.
You? Okay. So, anyone want to do the small commercial exemption, residential exemption, or the open space discount?
Okay.
Take a motion. Should we do it as 3 separate motions? Yes. Okay. So, small commercial exemption?
Then I will make a motion to not accept the small commercial exemption.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye.
I'll make a motion that the board not accept the open space discount.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. And the residential?
I'll make a motion that the board does not accept the residential
Seconded.
exemption, sorry.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And chair says aye. All right, so now we have, we can change to a single tax rate? I'm not for that. Or stay with the split tax rate?
Let's make it crazy.
Well,
I know it's an option.
I know, so I'm just, comments? Conversation, anything? All right,
No,
okay then.
Then I'll make a motion to accept the split tax rate. Oh, do I read the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. If chosen, a higher burden of the tax amount shifts to the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers, class 3, 4, and 5 respectively, less tax burden for residential taxpayers, class 1.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Okay, that was weird. Okay, now do we want to accept the recommendation of the CIP shift factor of 1.63, which is the residential factor of 0.7496 as recommended?
Yes. So
Okay.
moved.
All right,
Seconded.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. We are accepting the CIP shift factor of 1.63, the residential factor of 0.7496. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you want to close that one?
I'll make a motion to close out the public hearing.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. The tax classification public hearing is now closed.
Okay.
Next.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to open Town of Ayer Notice of Public Hearing for Ayer Select Board, calendar year 2026 solid waste transfer station rates, public hearing. The Ayer Select Board will be conducting a remote and in-person public hearing on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025 at 6:10 p.m. Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Massachusetts. The Select Board, in their legal capacity as the rate-setting authority for the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund Transfer Station, will hear the report and recommendations of the town's Rate Review Committee, take public comments, and consider approval and adoption of the calendar year 2026 solid waste transfer station rates. For Zoom call-in information, please contact Assistant Town Manager Carly Antonellis at 978-772-8220, extension 149, or atm@ayer.ma.us. Date of public hearing, Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Time of public hearing, 6:10 p.m. Location of public hearing, in person at Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. Remote participation meeting held on Zoom, Zoom ID number 978-772-8220.
All right, welcome, Dan.
Hey, good evening, Madam Chair and the rest of the board. Carly, you got the presentation? Yeah, so I'm here representing the Rate Review Committee and our recommendations, the committee's recommendations for the board. I know there's a couple other members here, so feel free to chime in as we go through the presentation. Next slide. So the purpose of the Rate Review Committee is to evaluate and recommend transfer station, stormwater, water, and sewer rates to the board. The goal for this meeting is we're talking about the transfer station rates. Here's a makeup of the committee. I'm not going to run through everyone on the list, but we have a full committee. Overview. So the transfer station. Solid waste disposal transfer station operation is an enterprise fund with separate accounting, and the fees and rates are exclusively for the solid waste services. The revenue is primarily obtained through our annual permit sticker sales and our pay-as-you-throw bag sales. There is a portion of the solid waste budget subsidized by the general fund, and that's done at every annual town meeting that gets voted. So, next slide. A little bit on the operation: municipal solid waste, recycling, food waste collection, bulk items, yard waste, the swap shed, famous swap shed, books, textiles, metal recycling, waste oil is a lot that the transfer station accepts up there. It's got a good operation. Here are the current rates right now. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's a future slide where when we have the recommendation, I'll get a little more in depth. I like this pie chart here, just kind of shows you the breakdown and gives you a sense of the largest expenses from the solid waste budget. So the top two are the disposal of solid waste and the recycling, hauling, and removal, and also the wages. So those are the biggest expenses that are part of the solid waste budget. You can go next. So the Rate Review Committee meets, and we kind of first identify how much revenue do we need through the sales of bags and permit stickers. And so to do that, we look at the total budget, which is $573,000 approximately, and the general fund subsidy that was approved for this fiscal year, $249,000 approximately, and any other revenue that is known to be coming into the solid waste budget, which we have a solar field up there. There's a lease for that. Recycling committee does occasionally get some funds, and also recycling revenues such as the scrap metal and textiles. So ultimately, we need to, and here in bold, raise $294,000 approximately through sticker sales and bag sales. So some considerations as we're looking at this: the contracts for solid waste disposal and recycling collection, the hauling disposal costs, they've gone up in the past several years. I will note that our contract is up at the end of this fiscal year, so we'll be seeking a new one through a procurement process, so hopefully we can get better rates there. The recycling commodities market has been more favorable in past years. You'll see that on a future slide that is a little clearer, so we're paying less to remove the recycling. Everyone is experiencing, including the transfer station, general cost increases from inflation and tariff uncertainty as well. And then always, depending on the tax levy and retained earnings that are used to help support the enterprise fund, that does affect how much we need to raise with the bags and stickers. And obviously user trends. How many stickers are we selling? How many bags are we selling? So go ahead. So here are the trends I was talking about for the costs for waste disposal and recycling. I call it removal. So you can see recycling in green has sort of leveled off and tapered down as of last year in FY25, and waste disposal has finally kind of leveled off as well, but at quite a high peak. So I mean, just looking back pre-COVID times, we were paying a lot less, and everyone was paying a lot less for recycling and solid waste disposal. So, carry on. A snapshot of the transfer station sales, relatively level, a slight downward trend, but relatively level for the sticker sales. So, rate review committee, what we do, we use a rate model to estimate the revenue generated that we need from the permits and the pay-as-you-throw bag sales. And we do several scenarios that we input into this model and have the model spit out for us to see what might be a potential recommendation for the board. Next slide. You can kind of see the rate scenarios on the right. They're real hard to read, but it just shows we do look at many scenarios, because we want to look at it in detail to save as much as we can for the rate payers here. We don't want to just look at a handful. We look at it very closely. So as mentioned before, the current rates are anticipated to generate approximately $292,000. Based on that, we would have been short the revenue required by just over $2,000. Next slide. We also do look at kind of in the past, how recently have rates been raised, and looking here, it's been a little while since rates have been raised. November 2022 was the last time the regular stickers were raised 5, and we did various bulk item increases back then, and so on from there. I won't get into too much detail. We can proceed to the next. So some other factors as well this year. In last year's budget, it was very tight. We squeaked by. We were about $3,000 in the black, and that was without doing any raises last year. We kind of knew it would be that way when we went forward without raises, but we ended up making it. Private haulers in similar communities, they have recently increased rates from analysis we've done. Bag sale trends have been relatively flat compared to recent years, and as I mentioned, the permit sticker sales, they're slowly trending down, flat/trending down, as well as the budget. It increased a little bit this year by $4,000, and those for some one-time items that were on there. So in short, the rate review committee does recommend an increase to the transfer station permit rates this year. No changes to the bags, only to the permits, and the recommendation is the annual permit sticker, which we sometimes call the regular sticker, by $5. And then there's also a second sticker a household can buy for a second vehicle, and increasing that one by $10. And a small note down at the bottom, this would give the anticipated revenue of around $297,000, so we would be in the black about $2,300 based on the modeling. So here's the slide showing the permit fees. So our current fees, and these would be the changes. The annual permit fee would increase $5, so $105 to $110. The second permit would increase $10 from $30 to $40. And the rest would remain the same. This is just a kind of snapshot of what potential cost to residents. And using the transfer station as a regular resident, the permit fee plus an assumed amount of bags per year would get us at around $460 per year cost to residents. It's actually the bags I use with my family at my transfer station, so family of 4. And then for a senior, likewise, a senior pay a rate of $60 per year, and then an assumed amount of bags would get around $160. The private trash haulers down below, the least expensive one I could find around was around $650 per year, which was up from last year, which I think they were $600 last year. So summary of recommendations, increase the annual permit by 5, from 105 to 110, and increase the second permit by $10 from 30 to 40. Just look at my notes. I think that is, in short, I think that's the last slide. Yeah, okay.
Any questions?
No, I'm trying to remember last year, was there, something that came up about trying to enforce a little bit more, people throwing bags in that aren't the actual blue bags? Has that, when I go there, sometimes I see a DPW person there kind of standing there. I assume they're DPW. And I just wanted to ask, has that been effective or?
I think it's been helpful, having somebody there will deter. Who was up there would have been the likely the senior work off. We had a senior work off the last couple seasons when we were able to, and he enjoyed it up there. And
Yeah,
did a good
very
good
friendly
job,
person.
Keith Becker. So yeah, and we did also. I do now have the any town trash that gets brought up there, like from DPW, we bring it right in through the bay and not throw it in through the side doors to confuse and make others think, hey, this is appropriate to do, to use non-blue bags. Yeah.
Very good.
I gotta commend, this committee, which of course is my committee, the diligence that and we try to come up with any question, that we can, and, do as much of a thorough look at everything so that when we make these recommendations, we know that, we've done our due diligence. So my hat's off to all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like we always say, we want to be as transparent as possible with all this and going through all of this. And, my first anticipated question was, well, what is private hauling? And you already answered that. So it shows, hey, this is all, right in line. So, looks excellent.
Anything else? No one's raised their hand.
All right. Make a motion that the board approve the recommended transfer station increase to the annual permit by $5 and the increase to the second permit by $10 as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Congratulations. All right.
Committee. Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to close out the public hearing for the transfer station rates.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair says aye. The public hearing for the transfer station rates are closed. Thank you very much. All right. Dan, next up.
I'm back. I'm still here. Yeah, Madam Chair, through you, it's good to be back. Kimberly's been doing a good job in my absence.
Yeah.
It's been a while. So a few business items, pretty standard. The first is a change order for our FY26 sewer system rehabilitation project. That project is the cured in place pipelining of our 24-inch sewer main that comes down Central Avenue, goes down Main Street. And the change order involves what Matt put on here was a quote-unquote special sewer pipe liner. And so basically in the contract, we had a steam cured liner, but in this one segment, we have to use hot water to keep it pressurized because the pipe is in very bad condition and we don't want any pressure fluctuations to collapse the pipe while it's curing. So by doing this other method, it is more costly and takes more time. So that's what the change order is for, $8,200 for signature by the chair.
Any questions?
No.
Make a motion that the board vote to approve change order number 1 for the fiscal year 26 sewer system rehabilitation project in the amount of $8,200 for signature by the chair.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. It's approved.
Okay. Item number 2 is also a change order, Cambridge Street Water and Drainage Project, which Pauline brought up earlier. So this is a final change order, and one of the items we had to do, we realized in the field, it's very tight out there with the utilities, and so we had to change the pipe material on the drainage pipe to PVC because it's thinner and gave us clearance between utilities. And it comes with a cost. It was more costly pipe than what was originally specified. So the change order is for $8,975. That's also signature by the chair.
Questions?
No.
Then I'll make a motion to vote to approve change order number 2 for the Cambridge Street Water and Drainage Improvement Project in the amount of $8,975 for signature by the chair.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. And it's approved.
Okay. The final item, I just wanted to give a brief update on the Cemetery Commission, the Woodlawn Cemetery update. So the Ayer Cemetery Commission met last Monday, and what the commission has been working on is kind of two things, and they go hand in hand. They've been evaluating the potential to have green burials as an option, and also looking at a master planning for the future area that is called what we call Section 5 right now, which hasn't been built out yet and utilized. And so green burials, what those are, they're basically natural burials. A normal burial, you embalm the person, there's chemicals used, all that. So it's kind of a new thing that it's not, not extremely new, but there's several communities doing it. Westford offers it, some others. So we're at the early stages of evaluating that, the commission, and I'm working with them. So right now, we'll go through the process. Ultimately, if the commission recommends possibly doing that, there would be regulations that would come before the select board and a presentation to approve that. So that was good. Saying they come hand in hand, master planning when we're expanding, we're going to factor in, all types of analysis, financial cost, where would we put green burial, where do we do ash burial separate somewhere, do we do full burial? So the master plan will kind of help guide us through an alternatives analysis of what we would recommend doing at the Woodlawn Cemetery. Because right now it is laid out by the previous cemetery company, Section 5, and there's also a wooded area further back which could potentially be expanded to. So we really want to see what's best for the town to do going forward. So those are the two things they're focused on. Just wanted to give a heads up to the board.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, that's it today.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Robert.
Madam Chair, members of the Select Board, good evening. You have in your packet the warrants that were reviewed and approved since the Select Board last met on November 5th. In terms of the administrative update, just a few things not related to the budget. We are going to be conducting interviews for the IT position and remain optimistic that we'll be having our recommendation for the Select Board hopefully at your next meeting. The Senior Center project, I had a meeting with the Senior Center director, the DPW director, the finance manager, and we'll be going to the next meeting of the Senior Center building committee to sort of discuss next steps as the building committee and the town moves into the final phase, which is the project development and management phase. There will be a lot of moving parts, a lot of steps, and things that have to be structured in a way that envision there to be periodic updates, not only from the building committee, but to the select board and to the public as we move forward. So I envision in the near future, probably right after the holidays, coming to the board with an overview of sort of the project schedule, next steps, and so forth. Because I know since the election and since town meeting, there's a lot of questions as to what's next and how will this process move forward. So we'll have more on that very shortly. I just want to mention tomorrow, Wednesday, the 19th, Wednesday the 19th, tomorrow at 6 p.m. in this room is the public input hearing for the CDBG grant program. As the board knows, the CDBG program overall is very important to the town of Ayer and various projects. And Rachel and Alicia from that office, I'll be running a public hearing where it's important to get input from the community on potential projects and importance of the CDBG program. So again, encourage folks if they can attend in person tomorrow at 6, or it will be hybrid on Zoom. That input is very important to the overall CDBG program now more than ever, where we're in an environment on the federal level where the position of grants is sometimes changing weekly, and this has been one area that we have been concerned about based on past statements on the federal level. We also welcomed, though not new to the town of Ayer, but Bethany Jones is our new assistant town accountant. She comes up to us from the Department of Public Works and is working with Kerry Cooper, the town accountant. Her office is located right next to Kerry's, and I just want to point out that Amanda Lewis, Benefits and Payroll, has moved into the front office directly across from me. So there's a slight change.
Where's Barbara?
And Barbara's still in her office. So they're in the office way in the front. It was in,
I'll have to look when I go. Okay.
yeah. So, and again, that assistant position is a key position. That was a vacancy that has been filled. In terms of my next item, just on the budget update, which will be a standing item. Since I met with the select board on November 5th, where we talked about the perfect storm that we're facing, I did meet with all of the town departments on November 12th, had a similar discussion and presentation, and as we're moving towards the December 1st budget directive, as in unlike previous years where we've asked them to prepare a level service budget, we this year are going to be asking for 3 scenarios. One is what we do every year, is a level service budget, which will form the baseline. The second scenario is going to be a level funded budget. In other words, you take the 2006 funding in the budget, apply any contractual increases, but that's it, if you will. And then the third scenario is a 10% reduction scenario where you would take the FY26 amount, apply the contractual obligations, and then reduce by 10%. And we're, as I stressed to the departments and to the board when we met on the 5th, and I'm going to the Finance Committee on the 20th, on Thursday, we are being proactive based on a lot of these variables. Our goal, my advice was, we're not in a position to panic. Also, we're in a very strong financial position compared to many other places, but this perfect storm on the federal, state, and local level is something where we have to tighten things up. And specifically right now, the major budget drivers of concern, as I mentioned, health insurance, we're looking at 20%, some are saying even higher, but 20% increase, as I mentioned to the board, which is concerning, and I'll be meeting with the insurance folks on that shortly. The issue of the school assessments is of a concern because in addition to the health insurance increases that will hit us, some of their federal grant funding and so forth has been reduced. And the third area is the overall taxpayer, in the sense that everybody is experiencing ongoing inflation, ongoing tariff impacts, and therefore we need to be sensitive to that. And specifically, as I mentioned back on November 5th, on average, the omnibus budget over the last 10 years, the average increase has been 5.2%. And last year was almost 6%, though there was some variables there. The target is really to get to the 5%. So that's another, challenge there. But we will continue to keep the board involved and updated as we move forward, as well as the Finance Committee. Again, I'm going there on November 20th, this Thursday at 6, to provide a similar overview. The budget directive will go out December 1st, which will be asking for the preparation of these three scenarios. Capital planning, since my memo went out December 10th at 5 p.m. will be the first meeting with capital, and finance manager and I have been meeting with all departments, a similar approach to capital. I think we've done an enormous amount of capital work that the town should be proud of over the last 10 years. I'll argue more capital work than some small cities. And we have to continue that effort, but in light of the current situation, we have to really, sharpen that pencil and really look at a need versus a want, which is something we talked about. So we're meeting with everybody. The capital process will start on December 10th at 5. And then the initial budgets will be due on December 29th. And then I will transmit draft one of the budget to the select board, the finance committee, and to the public via the town's website on January 16th. And we continue to have active dialogue with the schools, specifically Ayer Shirley Regional School District, as well as the town of Shirley as we, move through this process. So that is sort of my report for tonight. If there are any questions from the board, this will sort of be a standing item on my report as we keep you updated. The only other item I had, number 3, based on the last meeting, was just a discussion or clarification for the December meeting schedule. So obviously the board is scheduled to meet the first and third Tuesday of December, which is Tuesday, December 2nd at 6 and Tuesday, December 16th at 6. And I know with the holiday season and the end of the year upon us and so forth, if that schedule works for the board, or if we need to adjust something. So as it stands, it's December 2nd at 6 and December 16th at 6.
The second is fine for me. The 16th does not work.
No, I know I looked at this before, so. Yeah. I'm fine on both the dates.
Same.
Okay.
So we're good on the 2nd. Now on the 16th, do we want to just? I know the Selectman Tavares has an issue, but what's the will of the board?
I don't have an issue on the 16th. So if your plans change, join us.
That sounds great.
All right, so the schedule will stay as planned, December 2nd at 6 and December 16th at 6. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, next up is new business, select board member questions. Nothing was submitted, but is anything?
Nope.
I have none.
Okay. Approval of meeting minutes from November 5th. I didn't notice anything.
Yeah, I have no changes.
Make a motion that the board approve the meeting minutes from November 5th, 2025 as presented.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye.
Madam Chair,
And, oh, yeah,
I'd like to make a motion
okay,
to adjourn.
all right.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. The chair says aye. We are adjourned.